But the thesis for all three of those videos was basically the same. As the right embraces working class populism, the Democratic Party and the left will continue to fade into irrelevancy. But as I also predicted in those last videos, there might be an eventual pendulum swing.
There's just so you didn't make a firm prediction. You made a prediction where you could claim victory no matter what the outcome is. And so now she's swinging back and saying, see, I was right. I told you that the pendulum could swing. You gave yourself a way to claim victory no matter what. The title of the video is, How Did We Get Here?
Ladies and gentlemen, I am here to inform you that the rumors are indeed true. The Democrats have struck back. In the New Jersey governor's race, the Democrat won. In the Virginia governor's race, the Democrat won. And in the New York City race, Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani defeated Andrew Cuomo to become the next mayor of America's largest city. But the question on everyone's mind is, was it just a fluke? Just easy wins in blue cities and states? Or
is she going to try to give like actual political analysis in this video? I don't know if I've ever seen her do like political analysis. It's always cultural analysis, right?
is there something more to this? Is this a sign of things to come? Is the Democratic Party finally turning their losing streak around? Are they actually listening to the people now? Did they finally learn their lesson? No. Thanks for watching.
All right, on to the next video.
Last three videos about electoral politics were warning the Democratic Party that young men were moving right because the party f***ing sucks and was becoming the young men eat and die movement, spanking the Democratic Party for losing because they elected one of the most unlikable shittiest candidates while offering absolutely nothing to voters, and defending the voters.
Wait, what?
Becoming the young men eat and die movement, spanking the Democratic Party for losing because they elected one of the most unlikable shittiest candidates while offering absolutely nothing to voters, and
I mean, I guess that's true that they elected her in 2020 to be the vice president.
Defending the voters from the wrath of a bunch of liberal streamer.
Wait, did she also say ending? Hold on, I missed it. Did she say ending a losing streak? Is that what she said? Sorry.
Party finally turning their losing streak around? Are they actually?
She did say that. That's not true. That's just patently false. Like, to be fair, I feel like most people don't tune into, pay attention to, or care about special elections, but they do matter. Like they matter. They obviously matter. But, you know, we've kind of like, the Democrats technically started ending their losing streak, like right when Donald Trump was inaugurated. You know?
Most unlikable shittiest candidates while offering absolutely nothing to voters, and defending the voters from the wrath of a bunch of liberal streamer man children, calling the voters.
God damn it. My fucking face on the picture. She calling me a liberal. What did she just call me? That's my face on the screen right there. Why am I catching strays? No, I criticized her and she reacted to that, I think. Shue does the thing where like, I am not a man child. I am a man. I am a grown-up adult man. I'm not a baby. I'm going to the doctors today. Does a baby go to the doctors by themselves? I think the thing with Shue, man, is like, Shue does this thing where everything's kind of like laced with irony, you know? So if she says anything and you attack the thing, people are like, hey, relax, man. She's like one of those creators who I find to be very frustrating because there's always like a shield. Like you never really have to defend much. You know, if you don't want to, because if you don't feel comfortable defending something that you said, you can just retreat to the whole, like, I'm just trolling or I'm being ironic. Like, I just hate that stuff personally. But, I reacted to one of her videos and then a lot of angry comments on the videos. Because what happens is like the video goes up on the channel and then it's pushing it out to like subscribers. And those are the initial people that comment. And then the algorithm kind of like, you know, maybe your video gets seen by people that don't follow your channel or pay attention to it. And then those people, so like a day and a half or 2 days later, then all of a sudden it's just comment after comment after comment after comment, like really defending Shue and being really pissed off at the criticism or whatever. But I remember that's what happened with one of the videos. I think of this one here. People are like, like they were doing the whole like retreating to the irony thing. I think, I don't know what it was.
Stupid thing because they elected one of the most unlikable shittiest candidates while offering absolutely nothing to voters, and defending the voters from the wrath of a bunch of liberal streamer man children, calling the voters stupid and evil for daring not to vote for Hillary Clinton and brownface. But the thesis for all three of those videos.
What? Hillary Clinton in brown face? Kamala Harris? Okay.
Was basically the same. As the right embraces working class populism, the Democratic Party and the left will continue to fade into irrelevancy. But as I also predicted in those last videos, there might be an eventual pendulum swing, and it might be happening much sooner than I predicted. Like, how did we go from Republicans winning the popular vote, in part thanks to a lot of the young people voting, to a bunch of data showing those same young people dropping their support for the GOP already? But the interesting thing is, those young people don't seem to be moving to the Democratic Party either. Where are they?
That's not true. In the recent elections, the young people swung wildly to the Democrats. Actually, even in the special elections. I mean, what she's just saying is just factually not true right now.
They going? And
She's also trying to do this thing where, like, you know, she was doing these videos, right? Like, blame the voters, the great Democrat cope. I vaguely recall, and then especially her Charlie Kirk video was so unhinged. Oh my God, bro. You remember that one? I do vaguely recall her saying, like, Democrats are just going to keep getting shellacked unless they, you know, do this brain rot populism stuff. They're going to just keep getting shellacked. But she's also like, she wants her cake, and she's also like talking out of both sides of her neck. She was like, I was right, but things are happening on an expedited timeline. It's like, well, you were predicting the downfall of the Democratic Party, and they just fucking murdered Republicans.
Democratic people happening Democratic stupid and evil for daring not to vote for Hillary Clinton in brownface. But the thesis for all three of those videos was basically the same. As the right embraces
Pisco with the raid.
Pisco just raided with 45 douchebags.
Pisco with the redirect and the raid. Pisco's audience famously are big fans of mine. Huge fans. There's a lot of overlap. Welcome, guys. Welcome. What do you guys want to talk about? You want to talk about how Chuck Schumer is based? You guys want to talk about how Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are based? Unbelievable politicians. So much talent between the two of them. It's like, you know, like you just have to sit back and observe in awe as these two masterful politicians expertly wield their political influence to leverage good outcomes. I'm teasing you. Welcome, guys. Thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. I'm just playing. I feel like I've watched multiple videos of Shoe saying, like, this is it. You know, this is the end of the Democratic Party. They don't get their shit together. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, God. This is her reacting to me. I just assume I was being unbelievably based.
Okay, this next video people are responding to is the one I made after the election called The Downfall of the Democrats. Let's see what people had to say about this one. Okay, this guy is called Hutch. This fucking title, ShoeOnHead takes an election victory lap? What video did this dude watch? The ShoeOnHead from Earth 2? Hat on foot?
I mean, you know, it definitely felt like a celebration that Democrats got destroyed. But now I'm going down a whole new rabbit hole. That felt like the tone of the video. And it's what those kind of lefties constantly do. You know, like I'm thinking of like Gaza speaking now, bitch. You know, this is what she posted after the election. We'll just skip to like the conclusion.
There is a difference between being educated and being smart. IQ isn't just about how many books you've read or how many words you know. A lot of it is about pattern recognition, and boy did I recognize some patterns here. Maybe you guys should have listened to the bimbo with populist brain rot, because she seemed to be right about a lot of this. If the Democratic Party wants to win another election, they need to...
It's just, how are you going to treat this as like profound insight when this was such a close election? This could have very easily gone in Kamala's favor. Like if it was a 10-point blowout or something like that, then I can understand, you know, but everybody looks like a genius in retrospect. When you have the benefit of hindsight, everybody likes to pretend like they have this like genius insight. When it was this close election, it was a fucking coin toss. That was a coin toss. And I just want to point out, I was the one saying back then, because I was pushing back against a lot of doomer stuff that was happening in my chat about the future of the country. And I had some, you know, I had some fears. I had some concerns. I was like, oh, fuck, is Trump going to be like super popular this time around? Are people really embracing him? There were some questions in my mind, but I was cautioning people. I do that too? No, I don't. What are you talking about? Maybe I do. Do I? I don't know. But I was cautioning people in my audience to be like, guys, every time, literally every time a political party loses an election, there's always commentary about like, is this the death of the Democratic Party? Is this the death of the Republican Party? And basically all of, most of the historical precedent we have is that, the parties bounce back and pendulum swings, and we're not headed into a permanent kind of new paradigm. Democrats have some work to do, but it's probably going to be fine. Probably going to win more elections in the future. And the tone of I remember this video. I don't remember it vividly, but the tone of this video was just like, the Democrats are just like they're on their deathbed. I mean, maybe I'm misinterpreting what she's
Start understanding the importance of populism. Drop the divisive identity politics and focus on the bread and butter issues, or you are doomed. Become the party of Huey Long again, or you are doomed. But you know what? Maybe you're not doomed. Because if Trump fails to deliver on his promises, or we get like George Bush 3, it's totally possible that the populism vacuum will be opened again. Will the Democrats take advantage of this and actually put up a good candidate? No. They're gonna put up like...
Honestly, to be fair, I think I did misremember what she said because, although I disagree with it doesn't have to be populism. And I don't know what she thinks populism is. Maybe she knows what it is in her mind, but I think she's conflating populism with, what would be a different word for this? A focus on affordability is kind of with the
Show Hutch with a shoe on his head, like the famous YouTuber ShoeOnHead.
Politics with a focus on the economy. Is there another term? But not necessarily populism. It doesn't have to be populism. Her insistence on populism specifically is not accurate, because I don't believe, in the case of Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill, they were running on affordability, but they were not running on populism. They were running on addressing people's concerns about inflation, increased prices, feeling like their paychecks don't go far enough, but they weren't running on populism. And just to be clear, they did better in their respective races than the populist leftists did in New York City. Populism is not affordability. Populism is about the specific framing of a politician campaigning on representing salt of the earth, salt of the ass. It's about a politician framing it like, I'm gonna fight for the working man who is being screwed by the elite. That's populism. That's what populism is. I'm gonna fight for the working man because there's an elite that are working to fuck the working man. And I'm going to go in there and I'm going to protect you. I'm going to be your champion against the elite. And there's right-wing populism and there's left-wing populism. And the right-wing populism, their elite is going to be not necessarily, there's going to be some overlap, but their elite is going to be different characters. And then left-wing populism is going to have a different, slightly different focus. But it doesn't have to be that. It can just be hey, here's my plan to, make housing more affordable or whatever. You can do that without doing the populism, giving simple enemies to complex problems. Populism at the end of the day is just a massive oversimplification. It often overlaps with demagoguery. Let's just put it this way, the more populist a politician is, and the more populist a political pundit is, the worse takes they have, just consistently. They just always have the worst fucking takes. There's a reason for that. It's because they view the world through such a narrow, oversimplified lens. I don't even remember. Hold on. Now I don't remember what I said about this.
That Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
Do you really think that the Democratic Party is fighting for you? The overwhelming answer is no.
I am so there. Yeah, there's a little bit of a Hitler stash thing going here. Yeah, for sure. This is when I trimmed it too much, kind of along the sides here. Why didn't you guys tell me? This is a Hitler mustache. This is just a Hitler mustache. And for some reason, I couldn't see it. This is just a Hitler mustache. It's very close to one. It's very close to one. So frustrated with this argument because policy can only get you so far. Good policy is good and we should do good policy. For sure. I don't think we should adopt Republican policies.
Wait, What argument? You just watched a montage of Trump winning. Where did I say adopt Republican policies?
I don't think that's what I was saying she said. I think I was just spitting off the dome. I think I was just giving my thoughts in reaction. I don't think I was saying that she said that.
I haven't even said anything in this video yet. I haven't even appeared on screen.
Where did I go with the thought? Let me complete the thought so I can remember what I said.
Who are these people responding to? There she goes, hat on foot, making videos talking about adopting Republican policies.
I think we should pursue progressive policies. I think we should pursue... Okay, wait, hold on. I know where I was going with this. I was saying that not only should the Democrats adopt policies and implement policies and pass legislation to directly help working class people in this country, not only should they do that, Biden did do that. He was objectively the most pro-working class, pro-labor, pro-union president by far, the least neoliberal president in decades. And it didn't matter. The voters still decided that Donald Trump was the better choice. That was my point. I don't think I was saying that she was saying that we should adopt Republican policies. I think she totally misinterpreted what I said here. Pursue policies that help working class people across this country, whatever the term working class means now, because it's so nebulous at this point.
I like that the term working class is now nebulous. Now that they're losing the working class, it's like, pfft.
No, I mean, it is. Like, there are a lot of people that work in Silicon Valley that are making like 50 or 60K a year. And it is not cheap to live in that region. That is one of the most expensive regions of the entire country to live in. And you have people that are making, 60, 70K working at various tech companies, doing coding and whatever they're doing. And then you have people working in the trades in areas of the country that are way cheaper to live in, that are pulling, 80, 90, 100K a year. But to a lot of people, the person working in tech is going to be considered like a coastal liberal elite, and they would not consider that working class. I think the specific definition of working class is it actually, I don't even know anymore. Is it that specifically you're working in like a trade? The working class refers to a socioeconomic group characterized by low paying jobs, often requiring minimal education, and is primarily dependent on wage labor for survival. Typically defined as those who earn their living through manual labor. That's the one that I saw. I remember that definition of working class is, it's not just that you don't make a ton of money, it's that you're working with your hands. Yeah, you're doing like manual labor stuff. But it just feels like in the 21st century, we should probably expand the definition of working class. I'm sorry, if you're making 60K a year and you're living near like Monterey in California, I mean, you are struggling to get by. You can survive for sure. You can survive, but you're going to be pinching pennies. Yeah, game devs, bro. Exactly. Game devs. Like, what's the median salary for a game dev?
What does that even mean? Is it too late for the Democratic Party, or can they turn this around? Will the Democrats learn from this?
To be clear, in 2016, it was the same. It says approximately $108,000 per year. Okay, maybe game devs are doing better than I thought, but I don't think. I'm skeptical of that. Salary.com. Hang on. This feels more official. They say the median salary for a game developer is $62,000 a year. That seems more accurate to me. Entry level is $60,000, early career $60,000, mid-level $63,000, expert $66,000. Also depends on what city you live in. A bit higher in San Francisco. Median salary there for a game developer is $77,000, which again, you can survive on $77,000 a year in San Francisco, but you're not going to be taking like 2-week vacations in the Bahamas every year with that salary. Discourse. Is this the end of the Democratic Party? Dems in disarray. Are they ever going to recover from this? It's the same discourse every single time.
Okay, but Kamala did historically bad.
No, she didn't. No, she fucking didn't. Swanee Bird with $10. Didn't working class used to refer to people like coal miners or factory workers? The U.S. economy has completely changed, evolved since then, so it seems fitting that the definition be changed. Yes. Yes. We need some updated language or updated terms or concepts.
She did not flip a single county. A Republican won the popular vote. A Republican. Do you know how rare that is? And all the data shows young people, black people, Latinos, women moving more right. Now, could this...
I was vindicated from this clip, I just want to say, because I was pushing back and I was saying, you know, like every fucking time the party, one party loses, everyone's like, this is the end. This is it. They're in deep shit. I was totally vindicated because she's like, okay, but this time it's different. Look at the young people. You look at the blacks. Look at the Mexicans. She didn't say that, but.
This be a Trump-only thing? Sure. And as I said in my video, there could be a pendulum swing and we'll get like another Obama after Trump, or the Democrats wake up and actually run a good populist candidate. I don't rule this out, but to pretend this wasn't a particularly bad loss is just straight up delusional.
It's some people are going to call this pure cope, but this was a particularly not bad loss. That's the reality. That's the reality for a number of reasons. Call it copium if you want. Number one, the Democratic Party performance in 2024 relative to all the other incumbent parties all over the world that were suffering electoral losses as a result of the post-COVID economic contraction and the global inflationary pressure that was being put on goods and services and oil. Our losses were actually pretty fucking good compared to the rest of all the other incumbent parties in the world. That's number one. You do have to consider that. There are other factors at play across the entire world that influenced the politics of every country in the world and every incumbent party in the world. That's number one. And then number two, quite frankly, I forgot as I was getting animated with that question. What was number two? We picked up house seats. We won house seats. You can't call it a historic loss. You can't say that Kamala Harris did and the Democratic Party did historically bad when she lost by, what was the final margin? 1.5% after 2 years of inflation. And we picked up seats in the House. How is that a historic loss? 2016 was a worse loss when you look at the House, the makeup of the House, the Congress that was sworn in 2017. Republicans had what, like a 35-seat majority in the House? 30-seat majority? How is that a historic loss? Excuse me? After 2 years of inflation, guys, that should have been a bloodbath. 2010 was a bloodbath. The country plunged into a recession after the housing market crash. Unemployment shot up to double digits, I believe, or close to double digits. And Democrats got slaughtered. After 2 years of the highest inflation that we had seen since the 80s, and Democrats only lost the popular vote by like 1.5%. All the margins in all the battleground states were within like 2 points, 2 or 3 points at most, I think. Maybe a little bit more in 1 or 2 states, but I think they were all within 3%. Those were close margins. Close margins. And what was I saying? I was telling you guys back then, I'm like, everybody says this every single fucking time. I think the Democrats are probably going to be fine. I don't know if that's what I said, but
blaming the American people to blaming Joe Rogan, the Democrats and the media are having a hard time coping with their loss. And
this logic that you can't blame voters for the outcome of elections is insane to me. They don't based. Unbelievable. Nobody says fuck the voters enough, but we need to do that. There's no responsibility on the voters? Like none whatsoever? Who else am I supposed to?
You blame your party that lost. You blame.
This logic treats voters like they're just these mindless automatons that just need to be properly manipulated. That's all that is. Like according to populists specifically, like the voters can never do any wrong. They never have any of the blame. And it's like, I'm sorry, man. It is incumbent upon anybody with a sense of like shared responsibility, civic duty. It's the job of every citizen to keep themselves informed. The state doesn't mandate that everybody watch a certain amount of hours of news coverage each week or month. It's up to each individual person to have an informed opinion on policy, politicians. And if they don't do that and they make bad decisions, I'm sorry, like, do you not blame like any voters for making bad decisions. I wouldn't recommend that political parties run on, like blame the voters. I don't work for any campaign. If I was working on a campaign, I would not run on like, hey, voters, stop being dumb or stop making bad decisions. I would not do that, but I'm just a commentator, and so I get to make those observations. And sometimes voters make horrible decisions. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm rewatching this. I'm just revisiting. She mentioned it here. I'm sorry. We'll get back to the original video.
Liberal stream spanking the Democratic Party for losing because they elected one of the most unlikable, shittiest candidates while offering absolutely nothing to voters, and defending the voters from the wrath of a bunch of liberal streamer man-children calling the voters stupid and evil for daring not to vote for Hillary Clinton and brownface. But the thesis for all three of those videos was basically the same. As the right embraces working-class populism, the Democratic Party and the left will continue to fade into irrelevancy. But as I also predicted in those last videos, there might be an eventual pendulum swing.
There's so you didn't make a firm prediction. You made a prediction where you could claim victory no matter what the outcome is. If the Democratic Party would have just totally collapsed in 2025, they just completely fell on their face with all these special elections. If they had a horrible night a few weeks ago or a month ago for that election night, she would have made a video saying, see, I told you that would happen. That didn't happen. Democrats have been fucking murdering the Republican Party politically or electorally over the last year. And so now she's swinging back and saying, see, I was right. I told you that the pendulum could swing. You didn't make any kind of firm prediction. Like you didn't actually, you gave yourself a way to claim victory no matter what, bro. All elite memes with $10. Dems moved left on so many issues. It lost them favor with the middle, but gained them no favor with the left. Dems won't cater to left-wing issues as much due to this, and it's the fault of lefty voters. I don't know how true that is. I do think the Democrats are going to earnestly try to pursue policies that remedy the problems of the economy. Like, I actually do think they're going to... I hope they do. I don't know. We'll see. But Swanee Bird, I think I already got you. I think I'm all good. Okay.
And it might be happening much sooner than I predicted. Like, how did we go from Republicans winning the popular vote, in part thanks to...
You didn't predict a timeline for the pendulum swing. All you did was say it could swing back in the direction of Democrats. That's all you didn't... It might have been... This might be happening sooner than I predicted. Like, when did you predict... When did you make a firm prediction?
To a lot of the young people voting, to a bunch of data showing those same young people dropping their support for the GOP already. But the interesting thing is, those young people don't seem to be moving to the Democratic Party either. Where are they going? And do the
to the Democratic Party? What are we talking about? That's what the exit polling data showed from the election last month. The Democratic Party, the young voters did swing wildly to the Democratic Party. I don't understand what she is basing this analysis on.
Democrats have a plan to scoop these people up. Yes, they do, and they called it, I'm not kidding, deciding to win.
This is not the Democrats. This was an independent, like, centrist think tank. This wasn't sanctioned or funded by the Democratic Party.
Deciding to win, as if the whole time they have just been simply deciding to lose. It was a choice, guys. They changed their mind and they want to win now. In this video, I will talk about why I think Zohran Mamdani won. We will go through the Democrat Party's plan to decide to win. We will briefly talk...
It's not the... Okay, whatever.
Talk about the rise of the political commentator Nick Fuentes, the MAGA Civil War, and what I like to call the inevitable rise of shoesalism. If that sounds interesting, stick around. If it doesn't, you can leave. It's not like I'll miss you or anything, but Baka. I know a lot of you are not very interested in politics. You come here for the fun Reddit slop, the men versus women content. Yeah, I know. But unfortunately, politics kind of seeps into your lives whether you want it to or not. So you might as well be entertained when you hear about it and have some fun with it when you can. For those of you familiar with the ShoeOnHead channel, you know I've harshly criticized the Democratic Party for all my career. Some say too harshly. Frankly, I don't care. And some say I'm not harsh enough on the Republicans. First of all, true, but let's be honest, that's not why you come here. You go to Kyle Kalinske for that, just like you go to Destiny to see opinions you can hear on CNN, or to Hassan for dog training tips. You come here to hear, golly gee willikers, I'm left-wing and the Democrats have gone crazy. That's the shit you're here for. But are the Democrats actually getting their shit together?
Her post Charlie Kirk radicalization thing, like she walked about as close to the line of why I left the left that you could in that spot without just fully committing to it. That's what I recall from her Charlie Kirk shit that she did.
Or did they simply get lucky in a few blue areas? One of those blue areas being my city, New York, where Democratic Socialist candidate Zohran Mamdani won the election and will become the new mayor. And a lot of people are like really confused about how this happened. And if you're one of those people, you really need to keep watching. If you don't understand why Mamdani won, I'm sorry to say, but you're kind of like the liberals in 2016 who didn't understand why Trump won. It's actually extremely understandable why Zohran Mamdani won, and it's not just because New York is full of commies or whatever. He's objectively the best Democratic candidate that they've had in a very, very long time. Like, I know the bar
objectively
is in hell there, but he's young, he's energetic, he's charismatic, and people are really tired of the White House doubling as a retirement home. And of course, I like many of his economic policies. I like the universal childcare thing, the transportation, flipping off the Christopher Columbus statue. That's the shit I don't like. Bitch, that's our fucking guy. He was a brave Italian explorer who discovered America, and in this house, Christopher Columbus is a hero. End of story. I've said this many times, but I don't think the good left-wing policies can even exist alongside the bad left-wing policies. Like, I don't know how you can have free transportation, but also be soft on crime. Like, I don't know, like, in what world does that work out? You can't have nice, clean, free transportation if a bunch of drug addicts and violent felons are going around stabbing people and setting them on fire. You can't have nice things if you don't have rules to enforce those nice things. You know what I mean? It's always such a breath of fucking fresh air when I go back to visit my family in the suburbs of Long Island and I go to the CVS and the fucking toothpaste is free from their plexiglass prisons. I shouldn't have to wait 10 minutes for some poor wagey to come unlock the cagey so I can buy fucking shampoo. We don't have to live that way. Maybe he'll do great, or maybe he gets into power and immediately cucks to the establishment like some other people.
Oh my god, bro. Oh my god. What the fuck, bro?
I don't like to talk about it. I just don't know how the hell anyone thought Andrew Cuomo was going to win. He killed a bunch of grandmas during COVID.
As you admitted this week, you personally altered the state health department report to undercount the death total, to hide the death total, and then evaded and lied to these families for 5 years. So
you killed a shit ton of people. Bro, what? Plus, he doesn't even live in New York City. He doesn't live in the city he's running to be mayor of. Cuomo just kind of expected to win based on name recognition alone and being like, hey, at least I'm not the other guy. Sound familiar? Trump actually offered a vision. Make America great again. Mamdani offered a vision. A New York City you can afford. So people took a chance on him. People wanted something different. Andrew Cuomo, he had no vision or anything. Oh man, I love tuning into a debate about New York City and 80% of it is about another f***ing country.
Is she gonna even comment on the Mikey Sherrill race or the Abigail Spanberger race? Is she even talk about those two candidates who just objectively did much better than he did?
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first?
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
I would go to Israel.
It's just the narrative is so disconnected from reality. There is a story about the election night a month ago about the strategy that the Democratic Party broadly adopted all over the country that led them to tremendous success. Like, there is a story about that, but it is so divorced from the narrative that they construct. I'm thinking of, who was it recently that, was it Emma Vigeland or was it somebody else that said, I think it was Emma Vigeland. She speculated that turnout was higher kind of all over the country for this kind of a cycle of an election. And she theorized that it was like the Mamdani effect. Like, because there was so much national attention on the race in New York City, and because Mamdani is this like really broadly loved, exciting candidate, that he was responsible for, you know, he helped. I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive that she said or implied that Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill, part of the reason why their margins were so enormous, like 15, 13-point races, was because of like a Mamdani, he like buoyed them. He like helped to buoy them, which is just, this is not based on anything at all. There's nothing that you can point to support that claim. It's just like this gut kind of feeling that they have because they're so locked in their fucking bubbles, man. I thought Democrats did a really good job of being disciplined and having this like laser focus on the affordability economy stuff. That was, and you know, discussed with Trump, was a big reason for them performing as well as they did. And they didn't do it with populism. They didn't try to, you know, copy paste Mamdani's exact style and his exact platform.
Make my 4th trip to Israel.
Mr. Mamdani.
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel?
That was the exact moment I knew Zoran was going to win. Bro was just surrounded by NPCs. I love how they're like, where would you go? And Zoran was like, I'm going to stay here. And
I mean, to be clear, the polling very clearly showed, I think, I could be wrong, but I think the polling pretty clearly showed he had an enormous advantage at that point. So it was already well established that he had a very decent chance of winning.
Instead of being like, no, Zoran, the question was, where would you go? They're like, why wouldn't you go to Israel? Like, that's the answer to the question. Like, that's just the default answer to that question. His win was very much in part a direct response to the affordability crisis that many Americans are facing. So what is the GOP's answer to the affordability crisis? Oh, great news, guys. There is no affordability crisis. It doesn't exist. It's all in your head, silly. Need to save money? Simply don't buy your grandmother a Christmas present this year.
Budget.
I don't have any alive grandmas, so not my problem.
You need a plan. Also remember, adults don't need gifts, okay? Focus on the people in your life who are age 3 to 18. Grandma doesn't need slippers. If they don't live by you, don't get them a gift. Now's not the time to spend and break the banks.
Zoran's win was also basically a direct response to the housing crisis in America. So what is the GOP's response to the pie-in-the-sky, commie gobbledygook that Zoran Mamdani is selling? Surely they have a better solution.
Here we go. The White House is floating this idea. Bill Pulte is saying, thanks to President Trump, we can indeed work on the 50-year mortgage, a complete game changer. How does that work in dollars? Here you go. 30-year fixed mortgage, right?
What percentage of the principal would you pay on a 50-year mortgage? Are you paying like 3 times the value of the house across 50 years? 4 times? Wow. Like what? Somebody do the math on that one.
Now, you're paying $2,038 a month principal and interest on a $400,000 home. At the bottom, under 50 years, you'd save a couple $100 a month at $1,800.
So just to save $200 a month, you would be paying an extra like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Wow, what a deal.
And $22 principal and interest. That is proposed. Do you like this idea?
I do not like this idea.
Not lowering prices, not building more housing. No, just being a good little slave to the bank for 50 years. You might as well be a rentoid forever in this case. Like, at least you don't have to fix your own dishwasher. You will own nothing and be happy. Doesn't that sound great, Gen Z? Vote for us. We'll release the Epstein files and finally drain the swamp. Awesome. Finally, justice. Here it comes, the Epstein files phase 1. We got all your favorite E-celebs here. Don't you think that's a little tacky? I mean, like, this is an international child trap. The Epstein files are on my desk. Oh, that's great. That's what we've been waiting for. Well? Oh, they don't exist. Wait.
What is the update on that, by the way? What happened with that vote? What's going on with that?
What? Yeah, the Epstein files don't exist. They're a Democrat hoax. But you just said, hey, what the f***? That's my wallet. Sorry, Israel needs new weapons. Bye. Psst. What do you want, Democrat? Vote for us. Why? What do you have to offer? Hey, that's my wallet again. What are you people doing? Sorry, Israel needs new weapons. Bye. The Epstein files are a really...
This is your brain on populism. By the way, this is your brain on populism. Aid to Israel represents probably like a fraction of a percent of our total federal budget. The overwhelming majority of the federal budget goes to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and other welfare or social spending services.
Big deal. This is not a partisan issue. You should absolutely care about an international child trafficking blackmail operation consisting of the most powerful people in the world. And anyone telling you to move on is coping, gaslighting, or in on it.
What's the opposite of populism? I don't know. I guess like an extreme like technocracy, like extreme technocratic governance, I guess.
If whatever is in there is so damning that it is a national security risk, the people deserve to know. Like, I don't know about you, but if we are paying taxes to a bunch of satanic pedophiles, I would like to know. That is information I would like to know. Like, I already know we're doing that, but I would like some confirmation. Okay, so literally as I am filming this, Trump is saying he is releasing the Epstein files. So I guess they weren't a hoax. I'm gonna be so honest. I have no idea what the is going on, you guys. I'm sure when this video gets posted, there's already going to be more things that have happened. Also, Mike Johnson apparently said they need to make changes to the files to make sure we, quote, don't do permanent damage to the political system. If releasing the Epstein files would do damage to the political system, then so be it. Then it deserves to be damaged. It deserves to be destroyed. Just release the files. After all, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. Isn't that right, government? But it wasn't just the Epstein files thing that has MAGA feeling a little demoralized lately.
Does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
What an insane moment that was.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn.
We've talked about this a few times on this channel, actually very recently in the male loser epidemic video. The no talented Americans thing is a myth pushed on us by corpos and billionaires, so they can hire foreign workers who will work for less money and won't unionize. Worker drones who will work under
I don't know. I'd have to spend some time looking into these claims.
The coercion of deportation, essentially creating infinite scab labor, even though there are so many Americans in these fields looking for jobs. But those spoiled Americans will ask for a living wage so they can live in a 600-foot square apartment. How dare they? We can't do that. So import 1 billion immigrants. After all, it's good for business.
That's the other thing too. She's not only populist, but she's also protectionist. So.
Folks are not thrilled about this idea of hundreds of thousands of foreign students in the United States.
If we were to cut that in half, which perhaps makes some people happy, you would have half the colleges in the United States go out of business.
So what?
And it's not that I want them, but I view it as a business.
Unfortunately, America does feel like nothing but 3 corporations in a trench coat. But America is not a business. America is not a corporation. It is a nation. The contrast of what Trump is saying here compared to how he used to talk is staggering. Republicans embracing populism, at least rhetorically, is what gave rise to Donald Trump and fundamentally changed the way Republicans do politics in America. If you go back and watch the debates of Donald Trump in 2016, it's crazy.
We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East.
But all of this is like purely surface level. So rhetorically, Donald Trump broke with the Republican Party on a number of issues, but it was fucking bullshit. Like, he billed himself as this anti-interventionist, anti-war candidate, and both times he was elected during the first term and certainly during his first year, he has been anything but interventionist. Or a non-interventionist. He pretended to be economically populist. He pretended to give a fuck about working class people. That was the rhetoric. How has he, like, in terms of policy, how has he radically changed the Republican Party so far? What did they do both times in terms of like the big legislation? Tax cuts. They just did tax cuts. They cut social spending. They cut Medicaid and tax cuts. They've been doing that for decades. He got them to back off of like trying to privatize Social Security, I guess, but I don't know how in terms of policy, like actual policy that they implement when they have power, I don't know how radically different they are this time than 20 or 30 years ago.
They lied.
Okay.
They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass destruction.
All right.
I remember being like, damn, that's not how politicians in general really talked at that time. Like,
You should have known that he was a fucking con man. You should have known. Like, this reminds me of when Dave Chappelle kind of gave it was almost like a compliment to Donald Trump when he recounted how Donald Trump talked about how, he basically manipulated the system to get more favorable, tax liabilities or whatever. He's like, man, he really got up there and he told the truth. It's like, no, he's been a fucking con man this entire time. His whole brand is a fraud. He is a con man.
we would see it from Bernie Sanders and maybe like Ron Paul, but to get up on stage in a Republican debate in front of Republican donors saying that kind of shit was unheard of. Bro was getting...
I'll Google what the alternatives to populism are, because what the hell? You don't have to like massively oversimplify structural problems, economic problems, like offer people a really like easy, simple kind of scapegoat for all of your problems. Like populism, when you really get down to it, is just about lying either by omission, or there's a lot of lying by omission with populism, because they just leave out so many relevant factors to consider. You don't have to do that. You can level with people in a different kind of way.
Getting booed. Trump won in 2016 by decrying the bloodlust and warmongering of the Republican Party, but also by speaking to the economic woes of the average working class American. Basically saying, I see you, to people who felt like they haven't been seen.
Populism is also, there's also like a lot of false promises with populism, which I guess that's not necessarily limited to populism, but actually, you know what? This is going to be put to the test in New York City. We'll see if he ultimately disappoints the people that, support him. He seems to be already disappointing a lot of the people that supported him. He's not disappointing me. It's the opposite. Like, he's actually very much impressing me.
By either party in a very long time. Like, I saw people in my life, my neighbors and stuff, that were all like Obama voters, like just flipped to Trump, and now like all of Long Island. Long Island is like the Florida of the Northeast, bro. It is like Trump country there now. Before Trump... Oh, my nuggies are here. My nuggies are here. One second. I must go get my nuggies. It's nuggie time. 34-year-old woman, by the way. Mother, by the way. Before Trump, the Democrats basically relied on talking about how the Republican Party didn't care about the working class. But eventually, the problem for Democrats was the working class didn't care about them. But now it seems like the Republican Party is going back on all of that and becoming the Bush-era neoconservative party again, right as they're winning, embracing freaks like Lindsey Graham.
So I just want to say, I feel good about the Republican Party. I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people and we're cutting your taxes. Trump is my favorite president. We've run out of bombs. We didn't run out of bombs in World War II.
Republicans, is that what you want your party to be? Lowering taxes and killing people? We tried.
He did that his first term. Donald Trump did that his first fucking term. He dropped a shitload of bombs. He was fucking lying when he said he was going to be like the dove president. He was obviously lying.
That already. To many Republicans, the solution to the affordability crisis wreaking havoc on Americans is simply trusting the free market, working hard, and if that doesn't work, they bust out all reliable.
If you're a young person and you can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here. I mean, that is a real thing. Yeah, I know that we've now grown up in a society.
Obama said the same thing, but Obama was way more... Wait, Obama said what same thing? What do you mean? Well, I mean, if you're talking about the foreign policy, they ramped things up in Afghanistan and they delayed the pullout in Iraq. So, yeah, you could say he shifted a bit on that one, because they actually sent thousands of new troops into Afghanistan shortly after he was inaugurated, I think, right?
It says that you deserve to live where you grew up. But the reality is that the history of America is almost literally the opposite of that.
Ah, yes, the classic. Just move. Just move from Economic Zone 67 to Economic Zone 69. I don't know, man. Maybe some people actually like where they live. Maybe they want to make their community better. This is like the libertarian version of...
most drone strikes of any president. I mean, wouldn't that also be a function of the fact that drone technology had evolved so much by the time he took office? Wouldn't that be a part of it? I actually don't know, but that seems like close to something.
Just deal with it when you talk to leftists about crime. Like, no, we shouldn't just deal with it. We shouldn't just move. Maybe we can make the cities in our country livable and safe. Maybe better things are possible, actually. My husband and I moved away from our families because of his job, and it f***ing sucks. It sucks raising kids without an extended family around. Say hi to grandma on FaceTime. Not normal. Not natural. When I was growing up, it was like aunts and uncles and cousins and grandparents were just coming in and out of my house, like bringing over food, like, hey, I got some mancati. I would be babysat by my cousins and my aunts. And because we moved away, my kid won't have that. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's one reason many young people are putting off having children. The complete lack of community, the lack of a village. If you can't afford to live where your family lives, just move to fucking Gary, Indiana, where there's nobody around and no jobs and no family and no friends. But hey, at least you can afford a house there. That's not how life should work, Ben. Maybe take a step back and try to understand. Am I doing bird hands too much? You guys have made me so insecure about the fucking bird hands thing ever since this meme. Okay, listen, I'm a woman, okay? We are programmed to scold children. And when no children are around, we scold people on the internet, okay? Anyway, Nick Fuentes is a far-right commentator and a controversial figure to say the least. But his main topic he covers is Israel, which is an extremely hot topic that many other right-wing commentators seem to not want to touch. And the rare times they do touch it, it's them telling you not to talk about it, questioning why you care so much, or shape-shifting into the woke mob they fought against for so many years, calling you names, calling for you to be censored. What's funny is they didn't care about any of Nick Fuentes' rants on, like, race or women. They only started caring when his rants on Israel were blowing up. Nick recently did an interview with Tucker Carlson, which completely ignited the MAGA civil war that was brewing on the right for some time now.
I actually don't know. Is she going to be sympathetic to Nick Fuentes here? I'm going to lose my mind, bro.
That's so ridiculous that even Chuck Schumer went on the Senate floor and called for a disavowal of Nick Fuentes. Sir, with all due respect, none. Why do politicians need a resolution in the Senate to disagree with a citizen? Hello, I have gathered you all here today to disavow Hitler Bussy 420. People can't afford groceries, Charles. Ben Shapiro in particular has spent the last few months extremely confused and angry about Zohran Mamdani and Nick Fuentes becoming popular in the mainstream, all while his numbers continue to drop. I honestly don't think he understands what is happening here, so I am going to explain to you, Ben, what exactly is going on here. The American dream does not exist anymore for most people. Young people followed advice that worked for older generations, and it got them nowhere. Young people are tired of this stale, moldy, old dead consensus that has dominated American politics for a very long time. The one that dragged us into all these foreign wars and sold us out for some cheap plastic shit from China. Young people are tired of being told to sit down and shut up and pledge allegiance to the free market in a country that seems to not give a shit about them, as well as a foreign country they have absolutely no connection to. For so long, establishment hacks and establishment shills looked at the issues bothering the people and just kind of dismissed them. Can't afford to live where you grew up? Just move. Don't like that the toothpaste is locked behind plexiglass? Just deal with it. Think it's kind of f***ed up how you work 40 hours a week and still can't afford to pay rent? What are you, some kind of communist? You don't like funding a genocide with your tax dollars? What are you, anti-Semitic? If you don't address the issues of the people will gravitate towards those who are addressing those issues. It's not Mamdani's fault he won. It's yours. It's not Nick Fuentes' fault he's popular. It's yours. The tragedy of Ben Shapiro is that he led a life worshipping the free market, only to lose in the free marketplace of ideas. Now, with all this neocon rhetoric coming out of the GOP, are the Democrats going to pick up the populist ball that they are fumbling? Are they actually going to get their shit together? Well, they are trying, because they have written an article called Deciding to Win, where after interviewing over 300,000 American voters from both parties, they may have finally discovered the secret to winning. To give ourselves the best chance to win, we recommend the following changes to our approach.
Oh boy.
Democrats need to, 1.
So many people got so outraged over this study that basically was totally in line with basically every post-2024 like post-mortem dissection of that loss. You know, there was really not anything new in this study. Like they just, you know, they were saying the same things. You know, Democrats and liberals need to back away from some of the more extreme rhetoric that is turning off a lot of centrist voters. And, you know, basically moderate in terms of like the national party platform. But at the same time, it didn't suggest that the Democratic Party essentially become Republican light. That's not what the study suggested.
Focus our messaging on an economic program centered on lowering costs, growing the economy, creating jobs, and expanding the social safety net. 2. Advocate for popular economic policies. Moderate our positions where our agenda is unpopular, including on issues like immigration, public safety, energy production, and some identity and cultural issues. So basically it took you guys 10 years, millions of dollars, and dozens of Microsoft team meetings to come to the conclusion that everyone has been saying forever. You wasted a decade worshiping at the altar of mentally ill Karens, and now you're acting like, hey, what if we were normal is a groundbreaking political discovery. F you. I could have told you all this for free. It is a bad sign that it took you over a decade to come to the same conclusion that my audience has come to like a decade ago. And they're all retarded. Please reflect on this, I beg of you. Also, what do you mean you had unpopular positions on public safety? Like, why would you even say that out loud? Yeah, let's vote for the party that admits it was wrong about the issue of crackheads shanking people in the street. I love this quote from Nancy Pelosi, randomly shoved in here. Winning an election is a decision. You make a decision to win, and then you make every decision in favor of winning. How deep? How thought-provoking. Thank you, Nancy. What would we do without you? Probably win an election. Democrats have changed our focus. In comparison with the Democratic Party of 2012, today's Democratic Party is more focused on issues like climate change, democracy, abortion, and identity and cultural concerns, and less focused on the economy and middle class. The table below shows this shift through an analysis of the prevalence of selected words in the 2024 Democratic Party platform in comparison with the 2012 Democratic Party platform. This whole study is really interesting, but I need you guys to see this.
Just to be clear, the Democrats were trying to respond to the left flank of the party when they shifted their focus and their rhetoric towards some of these more unpopular policies or positions. They were trying to cater somewhat to the left flank. That's what this whole thing is telling us. They say they're saying in terms of the party platform, in terms of the rhetoric, the campaign messaging, the strategy, you need to go back to like the 90s era of the Democratic Party, which isn't to say, you know, like give up on big healthcare reform or anything like that. Now, I don't know. Does Shue consider herself to be like on the left flank? I don't even know how do we describe Shue at this point politically? It's hard to kind of figure out what those labels would be.
This chart, because when I first saw this, the scream I screamed. So Democrats since 2012 have increased their rhetoric on race by, sit down, 1,137%. On the gays, 1,044%. Their rhetoric on men has decreased by 51%. It is now negative 51%. On fathers, negative 100%.
I mean, part of that you could explain very logically just by the fact that queer people in this country have been experiencing an insane cultural backlash. It is a full-on hysteria. Most of it is anti-trans, but it's also, a lot of it is just overtly homophobic. And so it kind of makes sense for the Democratic Party to react to that. You can argue that you need to, you know, maybe not have it be so lopsided, but
they just stop talking about that shit. Veterans, negative 31. Them. The economy, negative 51, because nobody cares about that, right? The middle class, 79%, but I guess you can't really talk about something that is disappearing. And jobs, negative 47%. It somehow gets worse. Apparently, voters trust Republicans more on the most important issues to them and trust Democrats the most on the least important issues to them. Like, they literally care the least about LGBT, but trust Democrats the most with it. The most popular Democratic policies among voters are things like lowering drug prices, banning stock trading, expanding Medicare, and raising the minimum wage. While the
these are all things that Biden either did or tried to do.
Most unpopular Democratic policies are things like abolishing the police, providing free healthcare to illegal immigrants, and affirmative action. You're telling me this for the first time. Democrats, here is some advice for free. You can't just be MAGA light. Why would people drink Mr. P?
That is not what the study suggested. The study did not, the deciding to win that study did not suggest that Democrats become Republican light. But to people like Shue, and I don't know if you would I don't think you would put her in the same category as like Hassan, but I would probably feel comfortable saying she's on the left flank. They think that anything, like, I feel like Medicare for all is kind of the bar, right? Like anything less than promising Medicare for all is MAGA light to these people. That's just their sense of perspective about like the Democratic Party. Like, how could you look at the party's platforms? Not just like nationally in the presidential race in 2024. You could just stop there and there's enough of a contrast, but like all over the country, how can you look at the policy platforms of these candidates on any number of issues? Like basically any issue, almost every issue. Look what the Republicans are proposing and look what the Democrats are proposing. And 9 times out of 10, there's going to be an entire universe in between these policy prescriptions.
Pib, when Dr. Pepper is right there, you know what I'm saying? You got to bring something different, something better to the table. And that difference should be working class focused economic policy.
Just compare Biden's policies that he did through executive authority and the bills that he signed into law. Just take all of that and compare it with Trump 1.0 and Trump 2.0. And if you look at Biden's track record, he was all about trying to improve the lives of middle-income earners, low-income earners, and low-income families in this country. He was laser focused on this. He did the thing. He did that. He fucking did it. But he he had a 50-50 Senate and was greatly limited in how far he could go with these bills. And she's calling Joe Biden Republican. Like, is that what she's implying? You know, like it didn't fucking matter. It didn't matter. All of that, just like none of that mattered to enough people to swing the election in Kamala's favor.
Populism. I don't just want two neocon parties, okay? But all this is pointless when it's clear the Dems are not changing at all. They're just gonna...
Joe Biden was a neocon? Excuse me? How the fuck? Like, what?
Change their messaging. They're putting pretty wrapping paper and a bow on a big fat smelly turd. There's a chance that the Democrats may win based entirely on Orange Man bad again, which means they might...
That's not why they won in 2018. Joe Biden didn't run on Orange Man bad. He ran on, you know, his policies aggressive. I mean, he talked about how Trump was bad, but he ran on competent government COVID policy. Yeah, competent federal government to coordinate with the states to administer the vaccine. Who, you know, they wanted 100 million people in 90 days. They did 200 million people. They just crushed it. And then Delta happened and all that stuff. But he was running on super pro-labor policies. In 2018, Democrats didn't have a blue wave election because Orange Man bad. They were running on healthcare. They weren't running on impeaching Trump. They were running on healthcare. The election night that we just had a month ago, they were not running on Orange Man bad. I mean, there was a little bit of that, but Donald Trump's an unpopular president. So of course people are going to bring that up. You know, if you have an incumbent president, he's unpopular. You're going to talk about how unpopular that president is. You're going to talk shit about that president, but Abigail Spanberger, Mikey Sherrill, Zohran Mamdani, they won because of affordability stuff. That's why they won.
Get into office by learning absolutely nothing. Again. Then the voters will go, oh my God, nothing has changed, and then they'll vote for a Republican. American politics is just a revolving door of villains, isn't it? Rest assured, whoever wins, we lose. If you're actually going to do this shit, if you're actually going to do what you're saying in this...
That equivocation is fucking insane. Like, no matter the outcome, you know, like... she's doing the thing where it's like, it doesn't really... she's doing the thing where, like Hassan does, where there's only marginal differences in outcomes. When Joe Biden was elected versus when Donald Trump was elected, you know, everything is kind of basically the same. Like, everybody is equally fucked, which, how could you possibly justify such an asinine, idiotic claim?
Little article. You better be going whole hog, not just the tip. I'm talking embracing shoe-socialism. For many years, I have been smeared as many things. Grifter, flip-flopper, fence-sitter, racist, sexist, homophobic, but I am not a grifter, flip-flopper, or a fence-sitter. I'm simply living in 2055. You see, America has been a hyper-capitalist, economically center-right, socially center-left country since about the mid-century. And I know libertarians in my audience are going to be like, it's not capitalism, it's cronyism. Okay, whatever the you want to call it, it sucks, okay? So what if instead, and hear me out, what if instead we were a more people-focused, community-focused, working-class-focused, economically left, socially right country? All the data shows more people fall into that quadrant, the populist quadrant, the shoe-socialist quadrant, if you will, than the current system we are in today. If a shoe-socialist party existed, it would be incredibly popular, but it doesn't exist. And that's probably by design, honestly. The Social Democrat Party of Denmark has passed many progressive policies that liberals in America would only dream of. Protection from rent hikes, free college and healthcare, carbon taxes, and a very strong welfare system. But the Social Democrat Party also believes in a strict immigration policy. They believe that if immigration is too fast or chaotic, it puts pressure on working class communities, weakens social unity, and makes it harder to maintain their strong welfare system. Wow, what a f***ing grifter Denmark is. I feel like so many people nowadays are like terminally left-right brain to the point where like they look at issues and instead of being like, that solution makes sense to me, I believe that, I agree with that, they instead go, that's the left-wing solution, therefore I will believe in that. And it's so stupid and hyper-partisan, it makes absolutely no sense to me, and that's why I think like a lot of left-right brain hyper-partisan people don't understand me or people like me. That's why they call me a centrist or fence-sitter or flip-flopper or whatever. And it's like, no, I'm not a fence-sitter. I have many strong opinions. You just don't like them. And no, I'm not a flip-flopper just because you don't understand the concept of having opinions that don't perfectly fall on the arbitrary, always changing left-right axis that is American circus politics. There's nothing incoherent about my beliefs on paper. None of them contradict one another. I don't understand. She likes free healthcare but doesn't want to chemically castrate children? She believes in workers' rights but wants a stricter border? I don't get it. Like, where is the contradiction? I'm basically just Bernie Sanders before he got his spine surgically removed by the DNC. In conclusion...
What the fuck? What is that categorization?
MAGA and the Republican Party embracing populism is what made them so popular in the first place. But if the Republican Party's answer to all these issues young people are having is, F you, just move, you're not talented, maybe you'll own a home when you're 70 years old, they're doomed. Like, they had a small, brief fling with populism and ghosted it. Just pumped and dumped. Like a fat whore they're ashamed of and won't bring out on dates in public.
Just the most predictable outcome you could have possibly predicted. Like, of course he didn't follow through. Of course he wasn't genuine in his, like, working class populism. Of course, he's a con man. He was obviously going to do that.
As I'm editing this, Trump and Mamdani had a meeting together, and it was very interesting.
We were discussing when Bernie Sanders was out of the race, I picked up a lot of his votes, and people had no idea. When he was put out of the race, I think quite unfairly, if you want to know the truth, many of the Bernie Sanders voters voted for me. And I felt very comfortable, frankly, in seeing that and saying that. I would feel very, very comfortable.
There's a big problem with comparing America to, for example, the Nordic states, because when you go to Europe, my understanding, Europeans, tell me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure it's common in every European country to have multiple political, like relevant political parties, because they have a parliamentary system, right? Am I right about this? Don't most European governments, or all European governments, have a parliamentary system where you form a government by establishing like formal political coalitions? If we had that in America, if we had a parliamentary system in America, we would have a social democratic party or a democratic socialist party, whatever you want to call it. You would have like a Bernie-led party in America, and it would probably have the support of, I don't know, 15 to 20% of American voters, maybe. I'm just guessing. And I think I know that is one of the reasons why there is so much tension and friction internally within the Democratic Party, is because it's a very forced coalition. And progressives kind of always feel like they're getting the short end of the stick because they get far less concessions because their numbers are smaller than the rest of the party. They represent a minority of the party. If we had a multi-party parliamentary system, they would have a stronger sense of their own identity. I don't think they would feel as much that they're forced to constantly make concessions. They could just have their identity be their identity. They could just say, like, we are the Social Democratic Party, and you willingly choose to form coalitions with other parties to form governments. And I think that probably leads to less tension. Like, I don't think switching to a parliamentary system and a multi-party system would like fix America's problems. I think that is misguided. There's a lot of people that think that so much of America's political problems would be fixed if we just had a multi-party system. And I'm like, I don't understand the logic here. I mean, but I do think that there would be less tension between the Bernie wing of the party, the left flank of the party, and kind of quote unquote like the establishment, if the Bernie wing had a stronger kind of political identity. Because I think a lot of them, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong, I think a lot of people in that wing feel resentful at calling themselves a Democrat. I think they really don't like that. I think that a lot of those people would never call themselves or identify as a Democrat. So they call themselves Democratic Socialists, for example. I think it really bothers them. And it makes them feel like they're constantly being fucked, right? But if we had a parliamentary system and their numbers were more kind of defined, right? Because if you have your own political party, then whatever percentage of the country supports you, that's your party. That's the size of your movement. And because we don't have that, and those people are absorbed in the Democratic Party, they get to kind of like inflate their numbers a bit. I feel like they really make a habit out of inflating how popular their politics are. And it's kind of unfalsifiable. Like, we don't have like official numbers for, not like you check a box to say I'm in the Bernie wing. Multi-party would also destroy Republicans. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much it would destroy them, because like, you know, you have the parties get together and create a formal coalition. Like, that's just how other governments do political parties and do government. Dem socialists have called themselves Dems under FDR. The issue is the party was ripped from the Dem socialists by union busters and media corporations. I think that is a massive oversimplification. Massive oversimplification, because the strong labor element of the Democratic Party going back decades was fueled by Southern racists. That was like the backbone of the pro-labor movement within the Democratic Party. And obviously the Democrats lost those Southern racists over the course of decades, but really principally because of the stance on civil rights. We just lost them. We just lost that part of the coalition. You massively overstate overestimate the importance of the Dixiecrats, bro. So the Dixiecrat, I think that has a specific meaning, right? Like Dixiecrat, any of the Southern Democrats who seceded from the party in 1948 in opposition to its policy of extending civil rights. So I'm not just talking about that specific group of people. I'm talking about the entire kind of racist, segregationist, Southern bloc of states and politicians that were reliable Democrats, a firm, reliable member of the coalition of the Democratic Party for decades. They represented a third of the Democratic Party, basically. They were a third of the Democratic Party under FDR. And you're saying I'm overestimating their importance? Bro, they were crucial to FDR's success. Without them, you don't get New Deal era policies. You don't get the expansion of the federal government and the various social spending programs that FDR implemented. You just wouldn't have gotten those without them. They were so important, and they were significantly important under LBJ as well. They were a huge part of the coalition for LBJ. And then we lost them kind of permanently. Now those are like deep red states. Didn't they flip when LBJ forced their hand to vote for Civil Rights Act? So the Southern like flip or the party flip is not something that happened overnight. But the Southern strategy was the culmination of decades of change within the Democratic Party. It was, the party's kind of flipping or whatever happened over the course of like 3 decades. There was no like one thing. It had a lot to do with Barry Goldwater as well. I know less about him. I know a little bit about him, but Southern strategy is Nixon. Yeah, so that was the Republican Party just leaning into. I mean, that was them capitalizing on the extreme division that the Civil Rights and the Voting Rights Act caused within the Democratic Party. And then Nixon came in and just fully leaned on that. And they started to, the Republican Party started to pretty explicitly appeal to racists and racism. They saw a vulnerability that they wanted to capitalize on, and they did. They pounced on that. So like today, it's a bit more extreme today. I mean, it was a bit more extreme back then, and then it wasn't like as extreme. Like John McCain, for example, he was definitely not trying to appeal to anti-black racists, but Trump came along and kind of revived the more explicit kind of racism. Some might call Biden the Teddy Roosevelt of our time. Family tragedy, good domestic policy, sometimes questionable foreign policy. You know what? Yeah, I agree. Never thought of it that way, but yeah, I agree. All right, let's just finish the rest of this video.
Comfortable being in New York, and I think much more so after the meeting. We agree on a lot more than I would have thought.
I'm sorry, this is my new favorite problematic Yowie ship. They love each other. Maybe it's not over, folks. Maybe the power of friendship and populism will save us all. Listen, I want my kids to grow up in a safe and affordable world where they can get jobs and they can start.
This is the other thing that's totally disconnected from reality too, because the rate of violent crime in the country has been steadily declining from its peak in the 90s for 3 decades. This was going down, 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 down. There was a short, very limited spike around COVID, which, you'd kind of expect an event in human history that disruptive. You would expect to see some kind of a spike in crime, which happened, but it was a very, very mild spike and a very short-lived spike. Because violent crime went down year over year over year, every year of Biden's presidency, as far as I understand. And yet, I think it's just because everybody has cell phones now, so everybody can pull out their phones and record. You used to read about stuff that happened in terms of crime in the paper, and the paper didn't cover everything. But now everybody has phones, so we're seeing crime a lot more. Like the amount of crimes, violent crimes that we are all witness to now with our own 2 eyes has probably gone up like 100,000% because of social media and cameras on people's phones. So people open up their Instagram, their Twitter, their YouTube, and they just see they see a Ukrainian woman get stabbed to death by a paranoid schizophrenic who is in a psychotic break. And then they attach all this political meaning to it. And then, so she's like playing into, I agree that Democrats should not you know, obviously Democrats should not be running on police or prison abolition. That is fucking insane. But what Democrats were doing that besides the one who lost last night? Look, the party was not leaning into defund the police. The party was like rejecting defund the police rhetoric very broadly in 2020. Certainly Biden was rejecting defund the police. He ran on funding the police. And he did that. I just think she's just too online. That's my read. I don't know what to label her, whatever, but I think she's too online. I think she was way too online after the Charlie Kirk thing. I think she is playing into misconceptions and misunderstandings and falsehoods about the current crime rate in America, which is just, it's very low compared to the peaks that we reached in the 90s. Very low. Crime was already going down under a Democratic president. You wouldn't guess that if you watch her videos. So I just feel like a lot of her analysis, number one, it's very like slippery. You know, we already established earlier in the video that she gave herself an out, you know, a year ago when she was reacting to the election results and making predictions for the future. She was like, it could either go this way or it could go this way. That's basically what she did. She's like, Democrats are either going to crumble and the Republicans are going to be dominant, or the pendulum's going to swing back to the Democrats. And then fast forward a year and Democrats are just like totally shattering the narratives that are currently out there about the Democratic Party in terms of electoral success and results, totally shattering the narrative that the Democratic Party is on its deathbed. I think we can safely dispel with that notion. And here she is saying like, see, I told you this was going to happen. I told you it was possible it would swing back. But here's the reason why it's swinging back is because, you know, Zohran Mamdani, I guess. I don't know. She didn't even talk about Mikey Sherrill. She didn't even talk about Abigail Spanberger. The lesson from a month ago is not that, you know, populism needs to be the thing, like has to be the thing that Democrats do. You don't have to do populism. She's just wrong about that.